One of the most important things that I always try to recommend to my clients is when it comes to choosing a diet for weight loss or whatever your goal might be, is to choose something that's going to be sustainable. In other words, try to go for something that you can foresee yourself doing for the long term, because that's really going to be where the small changes is going to make the big difference at the end of the day. But one of the things that I've seen and to make a diet plan or a lifestyle more sustainable is to really try and still incorporate things that you do regularly that's part of your regular life. So if you're a very social person, or maybe you take out clients often, or you just love to go to restaurants, you need to factor that in or take that into consideration, because it's still going to happen. So today I wanted to talk about 5 tips that you can just try and keep in the back of your mind when you are going to go eat to a restaurant or going out with friends, whether it be breakfast, lunch or dinner. And it might just help to not undo all the hard work that you've already done when it comes to your meal plan or your diet or whatever it might be. So firstly, of course, it's always first prize if you can cook at home, because then you have control over exactly what you put in the meal and so forth. But let's be realistic. It does happen that you do tend to go out to a restaurant, and you should. If you love it, then great, go for it. But the very first tip that I have is, it might sound a bit strange, but if you can look at the menu before you go to the restaurant to already discern what would be the best option for you to order when it comes to maybe going for dinner. Have a look at the menu maybe after lunch, so after you've already eaten something, then you can look at the menu and really make a very conscious decision of what you want to eat for dinner. So that's the first tip. It might not work, or you might not want to do it, but I mean, it might be something that's going to help you in the long term, especially if you do tend to go out. Or if you go out quite often, try to choose a restaurant that you kind of know the menu and that you know which options are good options for you. The second tip I have is to go for grilled rather than fried. I know it sounds very boring, but that's really helpful. Going for the grilled option instead of the fried option cuts a lot of calories out of that meal. So if you can do that, really go for that. So things like your fish, if you're going to grill it, that's better than frying it. If you're going to go for maybe a baked potato or a roasted potato instead of chips, that's already a better option. Third tip would be to ask for the sauce on the side. So sauces are, delicious, yes, let's be honest, but if we think about all the ingredients they put into sauces, it's really not to try and be healthy or slimming at all. So that often might just push up the calories of the meal quite significantly. So let's say you're having a steak with a sauce, try to, or ask your waiter to put the sauce on the side, and then you can decide on how much sauce you add, and then try to be use it sparingly if you can. The fourth tip is to not drink away your calories. So this often happens when we tend to go out with friends or social events. You tend to order drinks, and if it's alcoholic beverages, then it's really also sometimes something that can add up your calories quite significantly and quickly. So where you can, go for the low calorie options, go for sparkling water or plain water if you can, and then your sugar-free options like sugar-free cold drinks if you do drink cold drink, or then your alcoholic beverages, go for something like a spirit, like whiskey with water or just on the rocks. If you're doing gin and tonic, go for sugar-free tonic. If you're doing wine, just try to keep the portions small, maybe alternate it between with some water in between. And then the fifth tip is to try and stick to one meal. I know it's very tempting to try out all the different options on the menu if you want a starter, a main, and a dessert. So if you can, try to stick to one meal, or maybe share a few meals in between friends if you want to try out a few different things. Because if you're having multiple meals, of course, that's common sense, it's going to add up calories quite significantly. But at the end of the day, just make sure that when you go to a restaurant, you still enjoy yourself. You're paying a lot of money for it, but try to make conscious decisions where you can, especially if you do tend to eat out a lot. I hope this has been helpful. Let us know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next one.